All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
Legend of the Galactic Heroes, episode 76.
Okay.
Ruental,
Ruental.
you are under investigation. Oberstein.
Yeah.
Lang will be the death of you. You just... Yeah, he needs to go. He needs to go.
Yeah,
Not
definitely.
associate with him.
Definitely needs to get disconnected there.
Yeah.
There are a couple things apparently I was missing out on the previous episode. Fellner is
Right, not Fahrenheit.
assistant, not Fahrenheit. Yeah.
And then, of
But,
course,
yeah.
the very sexual relationship that was going on between Reinhardt and Ruental.
Oh, right.
That was...
Yep.
That
I
played
missed the subtlety
additionally
in that. That's
into
true.
why he was pledging his loyalty. So, absolutely.
My fierce loyalty.
But, Ruental's in a bit of a pickle.
Yeah, exactly. And we also have a particular officer or admiral that was with Kira Heiss that has some very intense
Frustrations?
feelings about
Yeah.
the possibility of Ruental being
Removed. Yeah.
So,
Oh,
it's
boy.
a bit antsy of a
Things
situation.
could be like chill, smooth sailing and nothing happens.
Yep,
Nothing bad happens.
It really could.
Or it could very quickly go to a lot of very bad things happening.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure which I want to happen more. Because there's the twisted entertainment side of me that's like, yes, let it all burn. But then at the same time, no, this is
Right.
just have everything go fine. Happy ending for everybody. That's going to happen in this
Their
series,
legend
right?
will come when the show's at the very last episode.
Exactly.
And, many people just go off into the sunlight, and it's all just wonderful. Yeah. So, y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion.
Ruental got promoted.
Ruental got promoted.
Big time.
We have many big personnel decisions that are leading Reinhardt to commit an overwhelming amount of his fleet to Iserlon in a battle that is very much foreshadowed heavily to be a funeral pyre for many.
Yeah.
Like, there is so much in this episode that is just gigantic foreshadowing red flags being like, waved dramatically. Yeah.
Yep.
You get a death flag. You get a death flag. You get a death flag. Everybody gets a death flag.
And it makes sense because if this is the last big crescendo before the true end of the series,
Before the galaxy gets united. Because one of the things that's really kind of a given with this story is that Yang and Reinhardt will probably both die before it's over.
Sure.
And one of the reasons why that kind of has to happen is that the story is about the cycle. It is about the cycle of the way things change with, regards to the times.
It's about their legend.
Yes, but in every age, in every time, the deeds of men remain the same.
Yeah.
Not saying that there is no hope for humanity, but saying that, by the by, people will be people, but those names will... Some be lost to time.
Yeah.
Others be etched into our memories forever.
And some just become names in a book somewhere.
Yeah, some of them just will be, they'll be passed over.
Yep.
But,
and,
yeah.
Oh my God. Because it's okay. I'm thinking about this with regards to traditional 3-act structure, right? And usually at the end of Act 2 is where things get the craziest.
I feel like this story has so many mini stories that all have their own 3-act or 5-act even.
It doesn't fully
because this is a saga.
No, totally.
Yeah,
totally.
yeah.
Right. But as far as when I think of the amount of grandiose sort of conflict that can happen.
Yeah, it's a space
in some ways, the Battle of Vermilion was actually maybe the peak and the pinnacle of what that would ever get to, because Yang is not dealing with the same kind of forces and stuff that he used to be, right?
Right. The eve and the destruction of the Alliance has already come and gone.
Right.
Yeah.
But now he's got Iserlon. So this is after this, because I'm assuming Reinhardt's going to win, and then it's just going to be a question of at what cost, right?
Yeah.
And given that, and if he doesn't win, then that means there will be all sorts of new chaos that will come about.
Well,
But
there are ways neither of them can win here.
Totally, and in ways that the victory could be not worth the cost, right? You know, because it's
not about who wins.
Right, exactly. Both lose. You know, Ouroboros, that whole thing from the movies. You know, at the very very beginning of the story. Yep.
Okay, but
here we go.
So we start off with some good Admiral boys. We got Kessler, we got Mecklinger, we got Wallen. I love the voices on all three of these guys. They just have big Chad masculine voices. It's really wonderful.
We are
Wallen, and then we have Mecklinger.
We are High Admirals.
Like
we're
Kessler,
super awesome.
Yeah, and Kessler is like in my opinion, one of the biggest Chads of the three of them.
The German Shepherd.
And yet he has the most like kind of just normal sounding kind of voice there. But they're all talking about really big problems that we have like been harping on for a while. So first things first, we've got the problems of potential sedition in the ranks, in the politicians, the bureaucrats, those that have been delegated little bits of authority.
Past factions that might want to, make an upstart again. Yeah.
Right. We end up getting a little bit of that with Rubinsky bit later. But they also brought up his sister. Reinhardt's
and the fact that he doesn't have an
sister.
heir.
Yeah, and the fact that he doesn't have a Kaiserin, so no heirs are being forged in the oven. We really got harped on the stuff with the sister, though.
Yep.
To the point where I'm very worried about her like actual well-being in the immediate future here.
Oh yeah.
But secondly, I feel like that is another just gigantic just red flag for Reinhardt. Not necessarily a death flag, but a red flag in terms of his maybe fall.
Right, because okay, in this situation with Ruenthal, he handled it exceptionally well, right? I never would have seen that coming, right?
I almost want to have that be its own portion in the discussion. No, right, that's a whole big thing.
But using that as a comparison, that's an example of where Reinhardt had the opportunity to punish someone that did no wrong.
That didn't deserve it.
But there was just a bad set of circumstances and stuff that happened and things like that, and then how do you deal with this situation, right?
Right.
Ideally, the situation would have never have happened, but you can't really fault too much the person who was handling it, right? If Reinhardt's sister gets killed,
or even just taken hostage.
Yeah, right. Just the assassination attempt would definitely set him onto a different kind of edge, right? Yep. Like Rubinsky said. But if it actually succeeds and she does die, let's say Kessler is the one in charge of like her security and things like that, and he does a fantastic job, but somehow, right, she ends up dying.
Yeah, I don't think Kessler is responsible for that.
No. But I would bet money that Reinhardt would hold him responsible even if he actually isn't, right?
Okay.
That basically because his sister is his big weakness, even with Mariendorf, right? When she just said, hey, you should really see your sister, he's suddenly like, know your place, right? Mm-hmm. When he was literally just considering giving her one of the most high up positions in the galaxy, right?
Yeah.
How much more so if it's someone that is, even just one step further away from Reinhardt?
Yeah, I get what you're saying with Kessler because he's the Capital Defense Commander, but I really don't think that's kind of the point there.
Yeah.
Rubinsky was bringing up, it had nothing to do with like even the division angle that he's trying to work with Oberstein and Ruenthal. It's just what it would do to the psychology of Reinhardt in that he would no longer be able to see his life as just ascension and gathering power.
Right.
He would have to then completely rewrite his own life philosophy in some way because his star can lose its shine through something like his family.
Yeah.
And that really would change him as a person.
In some ways, that would be the true tragedy of Reinhardt. Maybe is not that he ends up dying before he can find peace,
right?
But the people around him that are his pathway to peace, his anchor to this world, end up getting taken away from him, and he and he didn't do anything. He didn't appreciate that they were there while they were there, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the ultimate lesson that he hasn't been learning from Kierheis's death, right? Is that while Kierheis is gone, not everyone you care about is gone, and yet you are treating them as such.
Okay.
And that's
in the final scene where he's talking with Emil. Yeah. Well, his final scene in the episode. He kind of mentions the idea that he's become self-aware that his actions are no longer necessarily something that brings happiness to those around him that he cares about.
Oh, sure.
I think that's more what he was talking about, is that he's already aware that he does that. Like that's the cursed at birth kind of comment.
He would not be capable of doing handstands on the lawn.
Right. And that's why I think he specifically separates himself from his sister, and still he remembers her request of, when you feel weary, come back to me, and he intentionally...
But you mustn't be weary yet.
Well, right, but he intentionally ignores the fact that he is weary and doesn't go back to her because he believes he's cursed.
Yep.
And while that is kind of an offhand kind of esoteric comment to say I'm cursed at birth, it's kind of his just personal processing and acknowledgement that I am one that takes. Sure. And thus I need to be careful with where my energy is directed, because I can end up robbing the happiness of others.
I can only paint in blood.
I can only paint in red. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I really think that's not necessarily something that was intended to be communicated in the specific sense, and yet it works so well that Kierheis is always noted as red, you know?
Oh, sure.
Like, that might not have been what was the intention there, but the painting in red, that definitely was intended. You know, I am a warrior, and I prefer war over peace. But it's also kind of a fun thing in that Kierheis, who kind of represented the peaceful side of Reinhardt, is just this red motif of blood, of loss, of death, you know?
Blood when spilled can have this connotation of, death, right? But there's also the concept of the lifeblood, right? You know, it's the thing that sustains you, you know, that without which you will die, right? And that's
since he brought Emil into his life and circle.
Exactly. You know, even the way he, like, when he patted Emil's head, he also
caressed his
hair specifically, because it's this is all I have left of him, you know.
It's those moments, though, where you think you're self-aware, but you're actually just kind of lamenting. There's an aspect of self-awareness that is basically saying the situation is what it is, and thus it cannot be changed.
Instead of sort of accepting it and allowing it to run its course, you're more stewing in it. Yeah.
It's a little bit fatalistic.
Sure.
And Reinhardt is one, though, that is built this by defying fate, so it feels like the ultimate undoing of his character to be kind of succumbing to war again, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Who the hell cares if you were cursed at birth?
Yeah.
Even if you were, you'd be able to break that, right?
Or, throw out the assumption then. How were you cursed at birth? You assume that cursed at birth means XYZ. What if it doesn't mean that at all? Yeah. What if the attachment of where that curse goes is that you've swallowed up the lives of millions to achieve your dream? But actually, when it comes down to it, those people that you swallowed up the lives of to achieve your dream were not those close to you. In fact, it was all the people that you'd never meet. There's all these other people. But in fact, the people that were close to you, they all chose in some ways an aspect of joining up with you to make your dream a reality, and they sacrificed themselves for you.
Right.
Reinhardt, you're not the god of this universe. Yeah. Everything doesn't revolve around you.
Sacrifices that people make, even if you inspire them to make them, it's still their decision.
It's still their decision.
And it is a disgrace and dishonor to their sacrifice to say that you forced them to do it, because then that robs them of the will they had. You're kind of equating their life to have been meaningless.
Or just
in a way.
Yeah, or just to be something where they had no agency.
Right.
Which is extremely egotistical in a weird way. Now, I think this is a bit of a couple leaps of logic that I'm making in here, But I really do feel like Reinhardt is very close to some element of delusion.
Well,
in that this is something that is a little bit of his regrets kind of coming out as he's about to make this big decision that he might feel like he's ultimately going to regret.
Yep.
But this makes him feel a little bit about it because he's addressing a different regret and equating the two, maybe.
There was something that Rubinsky said where his girl, I forget her name, was
Dominique.
Dominique, that's right, yeah. She was saying, like, so you think that, you know, if his sister dies, it'll make him easier to manipulate and stuff. And he also says the thing of, well, even if she doesn't die, it'll still make him easier to manipulate. Yep. But there was another thing that he said.
He'll explode. He'll go mad.
Right. Well, it'll make him easier to manipulate before he goes mad. Mm-hmm. As if the idea that him going mad is
then before he goes to mad. Like, basically the difference is, like, he's harder to manipulate now. After the event, he will be easier to manipulate, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But the idea that he was, and I could potentially be forgetting something.
Yeah, let me
curious what the exact wording of it is. But the way it seemed to be phrased is the idea that Reinhardt going mad is a done deal. That comes with the territory. It comes with his position. That is going to happen. History will repeat itself. At the very least, more so than before he goes mad.
Yeah, more so then. Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So
it's a gradient scale.
No, right. Yeah. But also the idea that the madness would come about as a result of the event, as opposed to being separate from it.
Yes,
okay.
Yeah.
I thought that Rubinsky was saying something much, much darker. But okay.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's basically saying that while that is a pretty definitive, logical assumption to make, she kind of goes, but does it really go all as you planned then? And he's like, well,
even if it doesn't,
if it doesn't, I think it will still be okay.
Right. Yeah. Because Reinhardt has the track record that, as far as his sister is concerned, that's really his big weakness. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah. And it is basically the plucking of the roots around the tree, or the surrounding elements that protect the perfect flower, and removing those then makes him more and more isolated. Yeah, exactly.
Strangling it, starving it. There's this sense that I get, and I'm very much holding this loosely, but that subconsciously maybe there's a part of Reinhardt that accepts what his weaknesses are, but because he realizes that he is fast approaching the Alexander wept for there were no more worlds to conquer, and because his reason for conquering those worlds has gone, that maybe he actually wants his weaknesses to exist so that they can exploit it and so that he can be destroyed. That way he does not fade away.
Or not so he can be destroyed on the positive thing, but also so that he might always have enemies. He'll always have something that he can fight against.
Right. Yeah.
Because I don't think he's given up yet. I think the decision of how to utilize his personnel in such an effective way was an example that Reinhardt, the emperor of the universe or the galaxy, still lives and has a beating heart, strong.
And hence why the chill ran through everybody when they heard his words, because at first they were thinking, oh, is he actually going crazy? But then also at the same time, oh my God, this is the man that I decided to live.
Right. I don't think any of them were thinking he was going crazy. I think it was just a worry of
bad decision,
He could make a decision that we would regret, right?
Yeah.
Based on just the idea that, well, usually when someone harbors an old enemy's, like consort nearby and then puts a kid in them to, for whatever reason, it's like, some drastic emotional responses that aren't really well thought out, just for the sake of, no one can question my power. Yeah, that could be something that I would say if you rolled your D20, if Reinhardt rolled like a 3 or less, I could see him making that decision. And then having maybe a more neutral one for the majority of it. But Reinhardt went the other end of things and promoted Ruental and moved things around a bunch to where Reinhardt is all in.
Yeah.
Like, he's really all in here. In fact, he might be kind of setting up Ruental to maybe be the only one
Who will replace him?
Who could replace him?
Yeah, and maybe that's the reason why he doesn't actually marry Mariendorf, because he doesn't want an heir. He doesn't want it to be something that is based on bloodlines.
Sure, that's very possible.
And
Mariendorf is kept around to maybe make sure that the ideals of Reinhardt go in that direction.
But here's another thing.
Okay.
Ruenthal said something last episode that if that's the case with Reinhardt, if this is his actual thought process, makes Ruenthal the perfect, and I mean the perfect candidate. Ruenthal said, "I do not deserve to be a father or to be a parent." Right?
Interesting. Okay.
If that's the case,
yeah,
then Reinhardt doesn't need to worry about the idea that he passes the reins off to Ruenthal, and then Ruenthal just has a kid,
form of the aristocracy.
Right, and then Ruenthal just starts the old regime and the old way of doing things, again. Right? Yeah. And then from there, Ruenthal would probably do something fairly similar.
Yeah, I do think though that his rule would be,
it would be less than.
Well,
it would not be the same. It would be no replacement.
It would be short-lived, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't think Ruenthal is incompetent. I think that there are parties involved that would never accept him truly.
Oberstein being one of them.
Mariendorf and Oberstein are the main ones that come to mind, and they're two different responses, I think. I think Mariendorf would look at things and maybe even take the empire in a little bit more of a democratic way. Not something that would be truly democratic, but something where there would be there would be a seeking of a replacement.
Ruenthal is such a cold man that he has the ambitions, right? But the thing is that he doesn't have the vision. Is I feel like the real difference between him and Reinhardt, right? He doesn't have this grand sense of purposes for why he's doing things.
Yeah, becoming the leader would be his vision complete.
Exactly, right. Reinhardt doesn't have it anymore,
right?
In the same way that he used to.
Hence, he's gotten really short-sighted.
Right. Yeah. But the pattern is built up that he can still go through the motions.
He could find it again.
Right. He could theoretically find it again.
Very much could. I almost hope this battle will do that.
Right. That would be wonderful. Right. Yeah. In the happy ending that I don't think Reinhardt's going to get, or at least not before, he exits stage left in the story, whether from dying or whatever, right? Yeah. He could theoretically get that again. My best bet is that if that happens, it will be by him leaving his command. Right?
Yeah, what I'm guessing it is that...
Or dying.
Yeah, what I'm guessing is that if he survives this encounter, Reinhardt has about a 25% chance to come out of this with basically having been defeated, lived, and basically has I need to reevaluate everything. Goes to his sister and starts to build himself from the ground back up again. I really want that to happen. But what I think is more likely to happen is that he wins in that he cannot defeat Yang. He cannot get him out of the Iserlohn fortress. He can't take the fortress. Thor's hammer wipes out fleets. That's what it does.
Yeah.
Ultimately, what it'll come down to, I think, is the standstill of, no, the flames of democracy, the flames of what I stand for, Yang, will not die. You cannot have this here. But we will not come into your empire.
But that's not enough for
in your lifetime. You will have to give this up and just admit that the wings of the empire have come up to Iserlohn and they stop there. And I think that's where Yang and Reinhardt will most likely both win, in that Reinhardt can tell maybe whatever story he wants, but then Iserlohn will just be a dead zone, just in general, and it'll be gridlocked and everything. No one will go there, and there'll be fleets on both sides. And then Reinhardt will have to basically do I accept that entirely? Do I go back in with more forces? Right. Can I really actually defeat Yang in the total sense? Can have him kneeling in front of me, basically.
Right. The only way that will work is if Yang has a collar around his neck and there are people pushing him to his knees.
Yeah.
It won't happen any other way.
No. I mean, he is not Bukok. He's a much lazier kind of...
Yeah, totally. He's not the type of person that would be like, all right, well then, gentlemen, it's been an honor, and let's all die together.
Right, right. He would choose living, I would say, over
but he wouldn't,
not kneeling.
But he wouldn't kneel. I don't think so.
I think if it was basically him, like, with just, having been defeated and everything, and it was at the end there, I think he would choose living happily with his family versus dying.
Maybe.
I personally...
Yeah,
I mean... That's one of my, like, low predictions, is that Yang totally loses... and he lives.
Right.
But it's the idea that he has to live with himself having given up.
Well, and this is the other thing that I'm kind of curious
about. That's why Julian will be the one that...
Let's say, Reinhardt, that you do defeat Yang.
Okay, yeah.
Let's say you do.
In the total sense.
In the total sense, right? Yeah. One, there will be the part of you that doubts your victory because you have such an overwhelming advantage.
Sure.
Right? And there will be the knowledge that it is all downhill from here.
Oh, right.
There will be no other miracle Yang, right?
Probably not, no.
Like, that's not going to happen.
Nope.
So...
in his lifetime, definitely.
You just toasted to your last, party, basically.
Sure.
Right? Like,
eve of the festival, the party is going to be the battle. The after party is when everyone cleans up and has to go home.
And Reinhardt might have one hell of a hangover.
Yeah. He's going to get drunk on this for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the thing is that then he'll realize, hopefully, that this is not where he can actually, sustain himself from, right?
And then he'll go to his sister.
It doesn't work. Hopefully. Or be like, hey, Mariendorf, I've been an idiot,
He goes back to her.
Right.
And then she opens the door. Psych, I brought your sister here. And she's just like... I got you, Reinhardt. And he's like...
I was going to propose to you, but okay.
Okay.
Now I'm reconsidering, all right.
Yeah. I really think Mariendorf's play at some point just has to be that she just steps a bit over Reinhardt and just is like, here's your sister.
She did
make up already.
She did kind of do that when she went to see Reinhardt's sister, and that conversation was amazing.
Amazing. So good.
But, like...
I feel like
I could see that happening.
I feel like we're close to that point.
Because let's face it. If they were married, she would have done that
a long time ago.
She would have done that like as soon as she could after the honeymoon. Like
4 weeks into them being married.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like enough so that it's like, okay, this wasn't like, even though I was planning to do this since the beginning, I'm not gonna have it be like the very first thing, but
she's like, yes, Reinhardt, you look lovely naked, but I'm going to need you to put on some clothes. Your sister will be here in like 20 minutes.
She's on the other side of the door you just opened.
Right. It's just like, that's funny, Mariendorf. Now get back in bed. Let's go. No. And then put your pants on.
And then he closes
your
the door.
Royal ass into your robes right now.
Yeah, because...
And he's like, oh, you're going to make me?
Yeah. Who knows? Reinhardt, you might find out that you like it.
I know.
Then you have whole new worlds to conquer within the bedroom or something. I don't know. But...
oh, my God. I just love the idea of the two of them, like, wanting to not conquer each other, but having the idea of their minds and their brilliant, like, depth of just... I don't know. There's fascination with each other being something where it's like... Now try to understand me, Reinhardt. It's
totally.
He's like, I'm just so turned on right now. Like, you still elude my grasp.
No, see, the thing is that if it's mutual conquering, then there you go.
Just conquering is such a...
No, I know.
Such an animal kingdom word.
Hey, you can say that in the bedroom, that's when human beings get at their most primal side.
So before our shipper sides absolutely go wild here, we have Ruental with a massive fleet, second only to Reinhardt's, with a position of power and governmental authority that only goes up to Reinhardt after him.
Right.
Which means that
he has been made Fire Lord, basically.
Yes, exactly. Well, then, what about you?
Right.
I will become the Phoenix King.
Yes.
Yes, the supreme ruler of the world. But, while all this is, I think, a really good decision for the immediate sense, these are the kinds of decisions, I would say, that also reinforce the foreshadowing that something is about to end. And I think
the question is what?
Well, I think
what will come after.
I think one of the most obvious ones here, and this is a very, very low prediction in terms of a, like we're about to have Reinhardt die here, but that's the one, is that I think there's about a 1 in 4 chance here that Reinhardt will die trying to take the Iserlohn fortress.
The biggest thing that I think is a reason for why they won't is the fact that it said it will have a profound impact on them.
Exactly. That's why I think it's a 1 in 4 chance.
Right, yeah.
I would say about, like, 60 to 70% of the chance that Reinhardt's going to be fine, but he's going to lose a lot of people in the process.
Right.
It's going to not have been worth it.
Right.
In the, like, this was folly. This decision was a mistake.
Okay, so this would be
because Yang will have the most, like, insane battle prep and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Crazy thought that would be a bit dark but poetic.
Okay. Yeah.
What happens if the other... Okay, he's not quite a redhead, but... what happens if Mittermeier dies?
Oh, Mittermeier?
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, Ruenthal's in this secondary position of authority, but he doesn't have his counterpart.
He doesn't have his twin star.
He doesn't have his stable good boy balancing factor for, you know,
I mean,
bad relationship but super hot sex girlfriend, you know, right? Like,
I just want to throw out there, like, the one who I'd be most disappointed, like, sad for is Mittermeier's wife. Like, Ruenthal is a cold, like, he's not Oberstein. Because Oberstein at least has a dog. But Mittermeier actively, I feel like, does not need anyone.
Yeah.
Like, it's a thing that he is almost a bit broken inside, to where he has lived his life intentionally, like, I only need myself.
Ruenthal's broken inside?
Ruenthal, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because look at his family.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So Mittermeier is the golden retriever dog that came into his life, and yet he never made Mittermeier really his golden retriever.
Mittermeier is the one that Reinhardt should be looking at as far as, like, you know, how maybe he should best live
model his life. Yeah. Mittermeier has it on lock. So I totally agree that Mittermeier could die. But in terms of what I mean for people to die, I don't think it has to be just a relationship-related thing. I think it could just be really, really effective officers, admirals in his admiralty.
Oh, sure.
That are just... They just end up being in the path of Thor's hammer at one point, and it's over.
Yep.
There goes, insert these two admirals here.
And by the way, once that starts happening, Yang already had sort of a crisis of conscience when he used the Thor's hammer when they took the Iserlohn fortress way back when. Fired it twice, right?
Yep.
Twice. That was very specific.
Yeah.
If it gets to the point where basically their strategy is, all right, any time that we get an opportunity, you spam that button, because that's the win button.
It is, yeah. That's why they probably can't just take the Iserlohn.
If Reinhardt currently has the universe, especially if he's taken the Alpha Seal, right, just on the way, because why not?
Yeah, there's going to be some kind of a scuffle there, because Yang wants to probably use that kind of space to be unpredictable for Reinhardt.
Right. But once it actually gets to Iserlohn, at that point, is it actually in the best interest of humanity for you to continually weaken this new regime that you can't actually beat? And that's the thing that I'm curious about, because Yang's ideals have always been the deciding factor in how these conflicts go, because Yang has been shown to hold to his ideals even when it is not the technically most strategic or best idea.
Tactical reasoning,
And I don't know. Like, if this fight were to have a profound impact on Yang, like the narrator said, I feel like that could be one of the ways that it happens.
I think the main way it'll happen is that both of them are going to live through this. This is my main primary predictions, that they're both going to survive this. Many other people will not. And I mean people on Yang's crew as well.
Sure.
But Julian will account for all of this.
Right, he will tell the legend.
Give a legend basically about this encounter, because I think this will be the last serious encounter between Yang and Reinhardt.
I agree.
And I think the reason why is because Reinhardt is going to be broken after this.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether he wins or loses.
In some ways, it might just be something where he's the king of the ashes. Like,
really?
Not king of the ashes as far as, like, in any absolute sense, right? He
just comes back with his image shattered.
Yeah, like it.
His pride.
I don't know why. This is a totally different thing. But Reinhardt's already very alone in his position, right?
Yeah.
What happens if a bunch of the other officers also underneath him die out?
That's
right.
Yeah,
because
he's
always considered himself to be the I burn bright and hot and fast.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But if suddenly his whole retinue of people under him are strangers, basically. Like,
oh, I see what you're saying.
You know, like
I don't. But look at how fast Emil has been brought in.
That's true.
I don't think
true.
that's.
And Reinhardt's whole thing back when he was
Yeah.
when he was not Lohengrin, but the name before was that he knew all the names of the people under him. You know, like he knew them. He memorized their names and got to know them and stuff, so that it wasn't just a professional relationship. You know.
Right.
But
yeah, I think Reinhardt's talent specifically will be in rallying people to love him.
Sure.
And that's going to happen regardless of whether they're, Steinmetz, Mueller, Kessler, Oberstein, Ruhenthal, Mittermeier, Wallen, Mecklinger, Fahrenheit, like all those. Mm-hmm. But also the young ones that come up that are the new shining stars that have the potential to be the replacements for a lot of those legends that we've come to know. Imagine
if you're a young kid, not like Julian Young, but like younger, right? Mm-hmm. In Empire or not really Alliance, because the Alliance doesn't exist anymore, but like...
We still have to talk about that fire.
Yeah, and you see, there's just this idea of this magnanimous person that is Reinhardt or Miracle Yang, right? Mm-hmm. They would absolutely be your hero. Mm-hmm. Like it'd be like, oh man, if I could, become a bit like them, wouldn't that be awesome?
Right?
Mm-hmm. Even if they don't see how broken, say, Reinhardt is, actually.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons why I have just this almost saddened viewpoint of Reinhardt in general, is that he is so alone.
Absolutely.
He's absolutely alone.
And he doesn't have to be.
And if he wants to be the shining example, if he wants to be the shining example, then there's already so much that people aren't seeing. What is it if you need actually this incredibly massive support system in order to maintain that image?
Sure.
Because the image would be maintained.
Right.
You would still continue to shine. It's the ultimate form of hypocrisy, I would say. And also, I would say a form of a glorification of this type of archetype
almost
in fiction.
Self-martyrdom, kind of?
Well, no. Just the idea that I did this.
Sure.
And it's like, no, you didn't. No, you didn't, Reinhardt. Mm-hmm. You led people to do this.
Right.
But you didn't do it. You did a good chunk of it.
Right. You were the torchbearer and you lit the torch. But you are not. You are not carrying the lion's share of the torch. If that makes sense. Or you did not create the laws of physics that allowed fire.
Right. You are not a god.
Right.
Yeah.
You're just a man.
Yeah.
And it would do you well to remember that.
And in some ways, the acknowledgement of that would allow for him to be even more so committed to the, not the bit, but like the display of this image that you want.
Because if you want to burn bright, go for it.
Yeah.
Just make sure you can keep doing that.
Yeah. Where's your fuel, buddy?
Right. Yeah.
Where's your fuel?
You've been running on fumes for a while now.
Right. Yeah.
And
that's why you thought about your sister's thing of when you're weary.
Exactly. Yeah. Because you're weary.
Because you've been weary for a long time.
But as best you can, carry on, our wayward son.
Right. There will be peace when you are done.
Yeah.
Don't you cry no more. All right. But we had a fire, which
hell of a fire,
which felt like a very kind of timely just bit of chaos.
Mm-hmm.
I was
Murphy's Law almost. Like...
Well, sure, but it kind of felt like one of those things of where I thought of the Rome fire, even though there's actually no parallels to it at all, really. But it was just the idea that when I thought about this, my mind immediately went to who gains the most out of this?
Sure.
Who gains the most?
And my brain pretty high.
Well, I don't think Rubinsky gains the most out of this.
Okay.
Rubinsky is the opportunist going to capitalize on this.
Right.
But weirdly enough, I almost feel like Reinhardt gains the most out of this fire.
Oh.
Just because this was something that, like the people rumored kind of things there, is that maybe the Imperials did this to kind of just solidify their hold.
Sure.
And while the narrator did say that it would, it would be the duty of the Imperials of the future to, maintain the hold that they have on Highness in an Alliance space.
Yeah, it paints the Imperials in a sympathetic light, but also it puts them in the same boat as the old people of the Alliance, right? Or the people of the old Alliance, because about half the people that died were Imperial troops, right? That just didn't know their way around the city.
Are you meaning because they suffered from it in some way?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because we know why this went off now. That it was a cephalparticle particle generator that the Alliance were trying to sell still.
But apparently that was not like a sketch thing. It's just
no, it was an accident.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I can completely in my mind chop this up to the fact that Reinhard then reacted accordingly because of things like Ruental had a really good emergency response plan set up just in case something of this nature
something that
happened.
Seriously upset the populace or whatever, and
right. But he came out almost so incredibly on top and then had personnel decisions that seemed perfect to accommodate this kind of a change.
Yeah.
That I don't want to pass blame here because I really do think we got the empirical narrator evidence that this was an accident.
Right. Even Rubinsky being like, "I wish I could take.
I wish I could be that big-brained." Yeah. There's no way this was me.
And there was that slight part of me where I'm like, "Wait a minute. If he doesn't, if there's some tension between him and Dominique."
Oh, there is definitely some.
Well, right.
He killed Rupert.
Right. So it's like, hey, will you bear my child? And it's like, you literally just...
You want another son to kill?
Your son just a while ago. No.
Right.
I'll pass. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then she leaves.
And he's like, well...
Right. But there is this small part of me that feels like Rubinsky doesn't trust Dominique. With everything, right?
Well, I agree.
And while he is very close to her, he didn't get to his position by trusting anybody.
Right. I very much think that he sees her as his best tool.
Sure.
He very much has that kind of Lex Luthor thing where he can only trust himself.
Right.
And yet he is trying
she's his favorite vice.
Right. And he is trying to set up his own copy of himself.
Right. Mini-me.
Mini-me. He's like, I want a replacement
that in the way that one day kill me.
Right. That in the way that Reinhard kind of maybe should.
Right.
Is to have someone that learns directly from the mouth of the one that is getting replaced.
Right. In the way that maybe
be able to. Yeah.
In the way that maybe I wish Rupert had been.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. If I remember correctly, he was kind of disappointed that Rupert thought that this was this was some great plan. He's like, Rupert, really? This
is the best you could come up with?
Oh, I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
unfortunate.
Oh boy.
Okay. We now also know that Reinhard is going to Iserlohn with these specific fleet movements. This is a big deal. By him making sure that he is able to crush Yang against not just Iserlohn, but another set of fleets, 2 fleets, that are in the old Imperial space.
Right.
Basically keeping Odin safe so that he can't flee that way. But then also coming with a huge expedition force from the Alliance side of things. Yang has to hold the line here.
Oh yeah.
And then we show Yang and company prepping.
Yeah.
And just the assumption that Yang is like, oh yeah, I know this is coming. But also given how much we know it takes a lot of time to send a fleet and mobilize it from, Fejon, then go all the way up to Iserlohn and have another fleet go all the way up to there. Yang has so much prep time here.
Yeah, it's...
And also the knowledge that he knew this would happen eventually.
Right.
They're not sitting on their laurels. But
the specific details of Ruental being promoted and all of that sort of stuff, it's like, okay, but that doesn't really affect how much the battle will go.
No, not really. If anything, I do find it interesting because it means that Ruental will specifically not be going on this expedition. Now, did I get that wrong?
Because the positions are taking place after the defeat of Yang and
Oh shit, you're right.
So
then
yeah.
So then then this is very much a thing where Bittenfeld and Fahrenheit departed from Iserlohn with their respective fleets
to just sort of hold down the fort until the bulk of the forces get there.
Well, right. But I think they're going on the Imperial side of things. Mittermeier, Ruental, Mueller, Eisenach, and Steinmetz. Finalizing the departure of preparation for the Grand Expeditionary Force. They were to pass through the Feshen Corridor and former Alliance space and return home through Imperial space.
Okay. Yeah, maybe that is what it was. For some reason, I thought that it was Kesslinger and...
Kesslinger?
Or Mecklinger. Yeah. That's their ship name, I'm sure.
Yeah, he's probably.
I thought it was Mecklinger and Lutz that were going to the Empire side of space.
Okay, so Lutz is not over there. That was Wallen.
Oh, Wallen. That's
Mecklinger,
right.
and Kessler were
in
their space. So when he does his delegations here, he brings up that there's someone who will be brought to the front lines, and I believe it was Wallen. Let me bring this up here. Steinmetz is basically given Staff Superintendent General.
Mm-hmm. But all of this is only going to come into play once they defeat.
Well, that's for all the new land stuff. But there are others where it's going to happen immediately. As Isolon Fortress fell under Highlander of Lutz Command, he shall retire from the front line and be appointed Fejon Defense Commander. So that's happening just immediately.
Right, in exchange, Hadmar Wallen shall be summoned from Odin and will join the war front.
Right, so maybe then Wallen, because he was not mentioned in the Expeditionary Force,
right,
and he was not mentioned in the bit there, I think that this might be something
the
where
Empire
they're going
side of things?
On the Empire side of
things.
Right,
because it was Wallen, Kessler, and Mecklinger that were on the Empire side of things, and they were having that conversation at the beginning of the episode.
It says, but from among the above personnel decisions, so not all of them, the ones concerning the new land, which is all the Alliance space, they'll be put into effect after we beat Yang. So right. So that's Ruental's stuff. That's the stuff with Steinmetz. That's the stuff just all on that side of the galaxy.
Yeah.
And then, oh my God, just this is all coming down on you, Yang.
Good luck.
Good luck. You might not have, a fleet coming in from the other side. We didn't get that actually just confirmed here.
I believe they did.
But I think that is, for the most part, assumed based on the current fleet positions. But that was also something that Mecklinger and Wallen and
that would mean that Kessler would be the only one maintaining Odin.
Yeah.
Which is potentially problematic because Kessler is a good German Shepherd. I don't want anything bad to happen to Kessler or to anyone that Kessler is protecting because he's a good doggo.
He's a good doggo.
And he does his job.
Yeah. But okay. This is going to be it.
It is.
Like, this is going to be...
Yeah. Probably the last crazy big battle.
Probably one of the last large-scale battles.
Right.
Because I feel like after this, both fleets will be effectively annihilated.
Not
necessarily annihilated in the total sense, but like as they are, they will be reduced to
the amount of things that had to happen in order for Yang to even get a fleet like this.
Yeah.
Like just think about the number of episodes and the amount of time and setup and things like that.
Yeah.
Bukok sending him forces, them, doing the whole Sherwood Forest, the people that were originally sent away even since the Battle of Vermilion, all of that stuff. And then also, his fleet,
Right. So, guys, this build-up is crazy. So thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get an early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yes, if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.